just love the drama.
Maybe a few turns since winter fuel allowance.
Cut that.
Because loose lips sink ships.
And what the fans want is to stop teams being owned by madmen.
Listen, you're really making a mess here. You're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. We're getting really cross with you.
The sticky patch came when the rest of the team's sticky patch came, which was sort of January onwards.
Grumble, boobs joke, hot ones.
No, let me tell you, I don't have to look at this objectively at all.
The Wednesday week!
Put on your podcast!
Hello, good evening, and welcome to another episode of the Wednesday week. We have a plethora of things to get through this evening. We have so much news happening. It's news of gore this evening. Joining me tonight, I've got John, I've got Beth, I've got Stevie. Absolutely. Normally, this is the bit where I ask you how your weekend went, but I don't really want to pull at that thread if I'm honest, because it was probably trash like everybody else's. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start straight into it. John, we had a midweek fixture 14 million years ago against Birmingham City. I didn't really expect much from it, but it was a decent showing from the lads, wasn't it?
It was a very good showing, and I must admit, I was thinking the same. I didn't think, but Birmingham's, as we know, we all know the Birmingham story. They're a club on the rise. They've got wealthy backers. They've got Tom Brady lurking in the background, and did they spend something like 15 million on one player at one bit for League One, which is a record. You could buy us for that right now quite easily. But I thought
you absolutely couldn't. Not from Chansiri, you couldn't.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he wouldn't accept 50 or 100, would he? So, but yeah, battling performance, great performance. Felt a little bit like robbed a little bit. Felt like the ref was going to keep going until they scored. They had that kind of feel. No, that might come across as sour grapes, but you see it so many times, don't you? Where it's like, where'd you get that amount of injury time, and then you play beyond the allotted time, and it's like they're just going to keep going here, aren't they? Until Birmingham get an equaliser, or I think he was doing his best to hope they nicked it. But yeah, really battling performance. Deserved more, but if you'd have said you'd get a point before kickoff, we'd have took it.
There's an element of I mean, on the whole, they did deserve to beat us. Like, you know what I mean? We've got some statistics here. You know what I mean? They had 20 shots on goal. They had 71% of the possession. To come away with a 2-2 draw on the whole was, a good result for us, to be fair. However, given the way it came about and they couldn't hit a barn door, Beth, it does seem a little bit harsh given how late they scored. It does seem like 2 points drops, doesn't it? Because we could talk about stats all day, but that's not football, is it?
Yeah, I think referees had some Tom Brady money or something like that. I was very disappointed. I didn't know we were going to talk about this, so thanks for giving me all the prep time.
It's all right,
no, it's all good. I actually watched it. It was gutting. It was one of those. I feel like every time I come on at the moment, I'm talking about how the results are going to be like unpredictable because we're young and sometimes that clicks and sometimes that doesn't, and this kind of thing. But given how well it clicked that night, it felt like a real kick in the teeth at full time. Yeah,
it did. Stevie, on the Dan Flood show earlier week, I spoke to a Birmingham fan, and I said to him that I felt that their keeper could have done better, especially for Jamal Lowe's goal. And then it turns out that the following game they dropped him. I don't think Allsop's flavour of the month down at Brum. But speaking of goalkeepers, Ethan Horvath should have been accredited for their equalising goal, I believe, on paper. But they seem to have given it to, was it Demarai Gray?
Demarai Gray, yeah.
From my point of view, just with the injury time, the added time, I'm going to be really controversial and say I've got no real gripes with it. And the only question I'd have was he's found a lot of time. I think it was 8 minutes, wasn't it? And they scored in the 99th. But there was a stoppage in play during injury time. So from that perspective, it was always going to go longer than 98 minutes. If they can account for the 8 minutes at 90 minutes, so be it. I'd echo the majority of the things that you said, Dan, on paper. We shouldn't be too upset about getting a point away at Birmingham. I think their record was that they've not been beaten at home for something daft like 14, 15 months. It stretches back a hell of a time, doesn't it? And given the fact that when we concede first, we tend to be utter trash, as you might say, and it just goes to pot. And they scored relatively early to get back into the game in the way that we did, and then go ahead of the game with sort of 20 minutes left. Felt like a bit of a shift in terms of the mentality of the club, in terms of the mentality of the squad, and it was one that I don't think we'd have probably had at home. I think the away form and the away following of the supporters that travel up and down the country to support Sheffield Wednesday at the moment is effectively like a 12th man, and it's something that we may or may not get into this evening, but we don't seem to have that for obvious reasons when we're coming in front of, air quote, 22,000 people on a Saturday at Hillsborough.
We've had a couple of comments. One from Craig saying it was a 28-game home games unbeaten for Birmingham. 28 games at home they haven't been beaten at, and 13 Bistow's been on and said couldn't disagree more. I don't know what with. It could be my face. It could be our chat about extra time, but he just couldn't disagree anymore. So
you know what? One thing I didn't like though, Dan. Sorry, mate. One thing I didn't like. Did you notice that? I think it was Stansfield. It might have not. It might have been one of the other players. They were challenging for a ball near our goal line, and it went out for either a corner or a goal kick. He got injured off the pitch, crawled his way back onto the pitch to get treatment and effectively slow and stop the game. And I'm thinking, why'd you do that? You know, it's just a bugbear, man. You're off the pitch.
I like it when my team does it, and I also like it when you see him try to do it in those ropey Eastern European countries where the striker's not having it, so he just drags the geezer off by his ankles. I love it when they do that. That's always my favourite. So as it stands, Sheffield Wednesday managed to get a draw. I know that seems an odd way of putting it, but football's football, right? You can batter somebody into the ground as much as you can. A late equaliser like that will seem like a loss, and I can see how many people would have been aggrieved by the referee in his extra time. It did seem a little bit egregious, and I do understand it. Then the week started. So then we recorded this Monday. That was Tuesday night. The week then started, and then once again we had another missed payment for the team. Now, it'd be remiss of me not to bring it up, but we have spoken about it another 6 times on this program, and it's another nail in the coffin towards Dejphon Chansiri. So what I'm going to do is not come away from it, but use this as a conduit, Beth, to speak to you about what the women's supporters group have been doing for the meeting that you had, and I believe Wednesday Night were there as well. Who else was there? My apologies.
So it was us, Wednesday Night, Rainbow Isles, and the Trust.
Excellent. So on the back of the missed payment deadlines, and again, our thoughts do go out to the people that have just not been paid. And then Alan Biggs released a post on X saying that some team members that are non-playing staff have had to take out loans. It's absolutely bloody disgraceful, and I don't think we can say much more on it on this show because I don't think there's going to be much more news apart from Dejphon Chansiri get out of our club. However, the women's supporters group and the other supporters groups that you mentioned there, Beth, have taken positive steps in order to try and put some pressure onto the chairman or garner some learnings. Please tell me all about it. I've been at work today, hence my mustache and beard. So you're going to have to keep me up to date, I'm afraid.
Not a problem. So cast your mind back to June. I think I came on the podcast shortly after saying that I'd been at the FSA annual general meeting.
You hung over to sin.
Yes, I went to that. The interim chief of the independent football regulator was there, Martin Henderson. And he said at that meeting, if you want to chat to us, let's get a meeting in. So Sheffield Wednesday Women's Supports Group get on the emails, which we're very good at. And we're like, hey, you said you want to meet people, so let's have a chat. We've kind of got a bit of a house fire going on at the moment. Kind of hit a bit of a dead end. I think it was my perception that they might have been a bit... they maybe wanted to meet the easy clubs first, get some boxes ticked. Fair enough. Didn't hear back. Got a no to that. So we were like, let's be annoying. Let's ask again. So a couple of weeks ago, we wrote again saying, look, it's still terrible here. Kind can we have a meeting? I think a few other sports groups have been in the same position. You've said you want to meet clubs, so let's talk. So early this afternoon, we met with the regulator. I can't tell you more than that, but I don't think there's much more to tell you that the regulator isn't in operation yet. It probably won't be till later this year, if not early next. Excuse me. So at this point, it is gathering information for the regulator, getting them up to speed on all the kind of ins and outs, nooks and crannies, and helping them get the full picture so that when they do come in, they can act as soon as they can. That's what I did this afternoon.
Beth, can I? When you say you met the regulator, did you meet the new fella, David Cogan? Is it?
No, that got announced like the minute we got out. We met Richard Monks, the chief exec, and some of his team. Okay. I think that's all I'm allowed to tell you. I already feel like I've said too much.
I mean, sorry, Dan. The reason that we've sort of brought it up is that the women's supporters group. It was the first thing I've seen this evening. Have actually come out and said that there's been a meeting with those fan groups. So you're not sort of spilling any secrets or anything like that. They come out and said this is what's happening. And we all totally understand it's going to be really sort of cloak and dagger for the time being, because there are things that you simply can't say, and that may be frustrating for people that are listening and will be going on about how you're keeping things away from people that deserve to know. But it's one of those things where if and when we don't know what's going on, it's right and proper to keep things at a certain level until it gets to that point when you can start to share things. And I just want to say that I totally understand that you can't say anything at the moment.
I'm glad I brought it up. I'm glad. But what I wanted to do was reassure anybody watching out there that there are some meetings taking place in preparation for the IFR, and no doubt I don't have anything from the trust in reference to this, but I believe that there are things happening behind the scenes. So onto the further in the week. Once again, like I said, 5th month out of 7, people are late payments. I believe those payments have been made at the very least that are non-playing stuff. Is that correct?
I don't think so.
There have been people that have been paid £1,000. So
I knew of that. I thought I saw some posts trickling through saying that they'd been squared up, but if they haven't, then you're the worst, Chansiri. You're the worst. And in reference to a comment that we had earlier on, you've got money for extra stewards. Pay them that. What's the matter with you? Yeah. Anyway, so on Tuesday as well, there was a loan secured against Hillsborough that was due to be repaid by Tuesday. Unless anybody's got any information on that, we've got no real information. We were told that Chansiri was looking for further funding. He was looking for an extension from the loaners, from the creditors, in order to try and buy himself some time. But we've had nothing concrete come out about that. Does anybody have any information on that? God, this is a frustrating piece of radio, isn't it?
Excuse me, I don't know what's happened to my voice tonight. I can maybe help a little bit.
Go on.
I've been speaking to a Macclesfield fan this week. They've been going through some similar stuff a few years ago. This one's a slow burn, basically. It's going to be something that's pretty in the dark. I think there's a couple of moving parts as to what happens with the loan, whether the person who's given the loan is prepared to extend it and kind of put more interest on it and it gets bigger. In that case, it's like a non-starter. We're kind of back to square one on the stadium loan. The person who's lent the money can trigger the administration, is pretty much the only person who can trigger the administration at this point. Again, that's up to them and that's in their hands. And then obviously the admin winding up order takes months, not weeks. So I feel like I've said a whole lot of nothing, but we're as we were with that, and we're probably going to be in this spot with it for a while, I reckon.
There was the report that some outside parties had tried to secure that debt and had been rejected in doing so. So like somebody trying to muscle in and maybe get the debt, and then but that's been rejected. So again, we don't really know much more than that, do we?
More shambolic nonsense coming out of the club. So let's move on to more football matters, because I want to talk. Like, we've got 2 games to get through. One of them was a million years ago, and the other one was dreadful, with a lot more going off around the football before we actually talk about the football. So 5-0 against Coventry, an absolute shambolic performance. But if you've not listened to our interview with Barry Bannon, he does mention that it's difficult at home with the atmosphere because the protests are taking up so much of the mental space of the people at the game. He really notices it. He says that the players really notice a difference on the pitch, and we can see it as fans. We know that it's flat as a witch's tit at Hillsborough, and then you go away and it's absolutely feral. My apologies if there are any voluptuous witches out there. I didn't mean to put you all in the same box. That's a terrible line of jokes, that, Fudge. You're gonna have to move forward with that one, aren't you? So right then, so we went into the Coventry City game. Stevie, any real expectation from this game?
No. No, not really. Well, listen to, I think it was Ash, wasn't it, did the preview show, and we've got the lineup just on the screen at the moment. Ash did the preview show, and they talked to Dean, who's been on a couple of our previews over the last 2-3 years, because we feel like we've played them forever and a day, don't we, at the moment. And he was talking about how expansive they were. He referenced the fact that their goal difference was greater than the next highest scoring team, which I think is Bristol City. They were just, their XG is ridiculous. Everything about them is just progressive, high press, attacking, intense. And do you know what? They walked out at 3 o'clock and they lined up. And I know it literally is a case of men against boys at the moment, but it actually looked like men against boys. And what I would say is, after the fact, I came out of Hillsborough thinking I've just seen the league winners. They were that good. And I know we've been competitive in losses, and there's been times where we just haven't turned up. We didn't have an answer for them on Saturday. We couldn't lay a glove on them. You can look at all the circumstances around what is happening, but they were comfortably better than us on Saturday. And 5-0 probably flattered us. Really?
Was it that bad? This is going to sound. I had a brunch I'd booked on at work, and I was entertaining Blazing Squad, and when I kept seeing the scores coming through, there's 4 members left of Blazing Squad. You've got Marcel Somerville and Mello D. They're still there, so the big ones are still there. Kenzie's not involved anymore. What are we on about? Brandon Thomas Asante had a good game. I couldn't even tell you how that first goal went in. I don't know what was happening there. Did Thomas Asante get it on the line? Because they didn't even know he could celebrate.
It's come from a corner, and he's got his toe to the ball before Maxlow. Where we were sitting, you couldn't see it. Looked like a bit of a scramble. But if you go back and have a look at it, he's literally toed it in from an inch out. Got there just before Maxlow, and it happens whenever we get to that point in a game situation at Hillsborough, like you've just alluded to, like Barry alluded to on the Owls alumni. The first goal is so crucial at the moment, because that atmosphere is sort of, it's in the ether already, isn't it? And the moment we go a goal behind at Hillsborough, at the moment, you know what's coming. And given the fact that they are where they are and we are where we are, you knew it was going to be a long afternoon. And on a personal note, it would have been easy. I can see that Craig's just put in the comments that he walked at 70. People around us were walking at 3-4-0. I don't blame you. I don't blame people. People have got a right to choose, and there's other things that we'll get into. But I wanted to stay till the end. I wanted to sort of see him through the 90 minutes. I wanted to make sure that, I was still there when, we walked off the pitch. And as I walked out, what I would say is, you could still hear people that were there applauding the players. They get it. They know. They understand. For the couple of thousand that probably still were in the stadium at full time, they understood the situation. We are where we are.
The second goal, I can't remember, John. Which one was that one? This is after the pitch invasion. We'll get to the pitch invasion later on. Let's get the football out of the way. Thomas Asante again, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Iofa lost the ball, didn't he, deep in his own.
That's right.
His own third, and guy just runs across the front of the 18-yard area. And,
I tell you what, he takes a good few touches there and slots it in the far post. That's a very good goal, I thought. I thought he did really well there. Although we had statues for defenders. The third one was the one that you posted on our social, Stevie, the offside that wasn't offside. At this point, we've had a pitch invasion and 2 goals. It was just one of those, claw something back moments, wasn't it? It was kind of moot once we're dissecting the bones of the game. Then the fourth one was substitute Ellis Sims and Kane Kessler-Hayden linked up at the end of an incisive attack to the former, make it 4-0.
Yeah,
Kessler-Hayden's
played it across roughly the 8-yard out, and Sims is just at the back, and he's just slotted it in. By that point,
that one was so very easy to score. As you can tell, I'm just shooting through this game because we've obviously got something else to talk to. And then they wrapped it up with five, and we went taking a heavy beating from a team that spanked QPR 7-1. They battered Millwall, who were quite well fancied at the start of the season, 4-0 the prior game. So, I think you're right. I think there's going to be some big expectation around Coventry City. And I thought that Frank Lampard spoke really well about Sheffield Wednesday after the game, acknowledging the size of the club and whatnot. But let's get into this and let's talk about the other thing. So right then, on the 10th minute, the usual. I said the usual. It's been about the third time. The usual 10th minute protest chanting, "Scarves up" takes place. I like this. I think it's become ingrained into the Sheffield Wednesday supporters' psyche. And then something else happened. I don't know where to start with it, Stevie. I'm going to come to you because you're a lot more measured than I. Can you describe what went off? You were there, and tell me about it. Tell me about the bad thing.
If I'm honest, I was really taken because obviously we've talked about the 10-minute protest, and there's more and more of the black and gold scarves, the trust scarves, and it's gone. It feels like it's definitely getting traction. So from my perspective, the first thing that I look at on 10 minutes is how many people, as people know I sit in the south, how many people are getting up, raising the scarves and so forth. And it's gone from a chant to a few people on the north to a few people on the north and the Cop. And it felt like in unison, everybody with a scarf stood up on Saturday. So I didn't actually see them initially coming onto the pitch. What I was doing, I was looking around and I looked sort of over my shoulder and saw the numbers on the south and the numbers on the Cop. And it was what I would say, it was such a striking spectacle, a visual spectacle of, the club, the supporters coming together at that moment. And I'm not going to say this in a critical way for the pitch invasion. It would have been nice to have got through that 10th minute with everybody seeing that visual sort of representation. And then looked over to the Coventry fans who, again, Coventry applauding us as we have. We've had everybody coming along. And then as I've looked down onto the pitch, I think it was actually, might be my sister, pointed towards the halfway line, and they've come on just inside the half from the north, I think it was, and they've approached Bannon in the first instance with a flag, Chansiri out, and then another supporter was there. And again, if I've got anything factually wrong, please feel free to correct me. This is my observation of what I'd seen. And then you got one, then maybe two, and then you get the usual stewards chasing. And then it became a sort of an en masse thing where I couldn't say for certain the total of people that entered the football pitch, but I'd say it would be at least 100 to 150 were there at any one point trying to get on. No malice, no, they approached one or two of the players, some of them. You could see that Bannon was probably the main figure that was trying to interact with them. There was one instance, I think it's been documented, where there was a steward who had been quite heavy-handed with one of the players, the supports coming onto the pitch, and Bannon made a point of going across and sort of trying to play a little bit of peacemaker. For those of you that are watching on YouTube, you can or online, you can see we've got what's probably going to be the more notorious or the more sort of famous, if you like, or infamous lad with the balaclava being escorted off by the stewards there, and that was it. And there was more. There was more chanting. There were more people coming onto the pitch. I'd have to say it didn't feel consistent in terms of the demographic of people that were going on. It didn't feel consistent in terms of the approach once they were on the pitch in terms of what they were doing. There was still a couple of people that decided they were going to run around. There was one fellow who decided he was going to perform a sit-down protest in the centre circle, and he just sat there, arms, legs crossed, and sort of waited for people to move him off. But yeah, there was no disconcerting noises or gestures made from Coventry. It was almost like they knew that it was coming and they were ready to accept what was going to happen. The Wednesday players, if anything, were empathetic, I would say, rather than sympathetic or irate. They understand what the situation is, and they knew it was probably coming. The stewards, interestingly enough, I know we've talked about how many stewards were out and about. They, on the first goal went in, if I remember rightly, that's when they started to move and they got booed, and the stewards are getting booed. There were a couple of things in the north a little bit later that we may get in around signage that was taken down, and there was a heavy presence from the stewards there as well. But yeah, it sort of built momentum gradually, and I do feel that there may have been one or two people that quite impulsively went, I'm going to join in rather than it just being planned. But from a sort of my own personal observation of what happened, that's where we were.
So a lot of people went for a beeline for the captain, and Bannon played peacemaker, completely understanding what the fans were endeavouring to do. Beth, I'm going to put you right on the spot here, unless you want me to answer for you. What were your thoughts about it beforehand and during, and then after?
I think I can answer. I can't say I was in favour of it beforehand. I'd be lying if I was. To be honest, now I'm still not in favour of it. I think from the discussions that I'd had with the women's supporters group I'd had with Christine Seddon a few weeks ago, she was saying we need to keep this upper hand, we need to be able to work with authorities and this kind of thing. Perhaps this is me from a supporters group perspective, kind of being like, it's not something I can get involved in. I didn't think it was the right protocol at the right time. Watching it was weird. I watched from home. I'm boycotting. I had it on my laptop while I was getting ready. It was strange. I think I felt a bit sad, in a weird way. The perception of it kind of on the stream was like, is it happening? Is it not happening? It kind of showed you very odd parts of it. You kind of saw the very beginning of it, and then it went away for a bit, and it came back, and it went away, and it came back. So I definitely didn't get the scale of how good it was. The best I've seen is the pictures and the kind of things that people have sent in WhatsApp or on Twitter. I thought I need to be careful on how I say this, because I don't want.
Beth, let me help you out. Let me help you out.
No,
Christine Seddon said it beautifully when you guys at the WSG spoke to Christine, who was the head of the Supporters Trust for Blackpool, and she said, if you do something that is the wrong side of the law, you will not garner any followers. If you do things right and you keep a strong moral compass, you will get more followers that way. Essentially, you will catch more flies with honey than you will with vinegar. I thought the idea of it was fucking stupid. I couldn't understand why in the world someone thought that was a good idea. Now, I understand the maths of somebody going, we get the game called off, the EFL will put more sanctions on us. I understand that, but the protests and us voicing our opinion are about us telling the chairman that we are not happy with him, right? It's us maintaining our dignity, and we're telling the chairman, just because we're, you know what I mean? Let's say we were just sat there and not doing anything. The chairman could happily sit there and go, well, they're not saying anything, so we'll just carry on as we are. And we're not doing that. Somehow this has been construed into the fact that this forces the chairman to sell the club. It doesn't. It's us constantly telling him we're not happy. The biggest protest that will happen, that will have any kind of impact, will be when the season ticket sales go on sale. That's the only time it's ever going to really get heard. I am 100% behind the protest. I believe that it's something we should be doing. Please don't get me wrong. But do I believe that the chairman gives enough of a shit to listen to us and do what we've asked? I don't think he is. And I think the only time that we're going to really make a real difference to him is when we stop buying season tickets, right? That's what's going to happen. So we saw a post from the trust saying there's chat about bringing the season ticket renewals early. I don't know where that's come from. I haven't seen it outside of that announcement, but I'm not going to renew my season ticket. And I think the biggest ask that's going to come is those people that have saved up those points, that they have toiled for, that they have traveled for, that they've spent money on getting, that saved up those points for those away days. Are they going to give them away? You know what I mean? Are they going to give that up? And can they trust John down the road to not buy a season ticket as well? Because he's on 800 points as well. Is he going to give it up? You know what I mean? And that's where people have got it. That's where people have got the choice to make. Personally, I'm not going to renew. It's a ball ache for me to get from London to Sheffield anyway. Deep down, I'm probably looking for an excuse not to go anymore. You know what I mean? It's a joke. But that's when the biggest test of resolve is going to come from. But they're all waiting on somebody else. And the element with jumping on the pitch was a faceless Twitter account saying, get on pitch. And it's a load of people saying, get on pitch. And what I noticed was a lot of the people that got on the pitch were people of a certain age. Like, they were young kids, a lot of them. And I also believe that there was an element there of young people want to get onto the pitch to look what it looks like to be a football player, stand on the grass and look around at this full stadium. There's an element of that. However, not being on the right side of right has caused the trust, and it's caused the fan base a bit of traction in terms of garnering support for their cause. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think so. One thing I will say is the pitch invasion is done. It's happened. It's in the past. That was a flag that someone wanted to nail on their mast, and it's been done. What's really kind of disheartened me, and it did a little bit in the build-up as well, to be fair, it's just, why is this another point to scrap with each other? I think it's
let me just interject on that.
No, let me finish.
Go on.
It's Winston Churchill of all flipping people saying, you stop at every dog that barks, you'll never get to your destination. Like, why are we just letting every single bump in the road? Like, we've all got to be friends on the other side of this. And we've got to somehow salvage a club that when Chansiri leaves will be in a shit state. So we need to be friends then. Why are we letting this be another thing that is divisive and disgusting? And the people on Radio Sheffield calling each other idiots. The chat is minging tonight. Everyone's scrapping again.
Everybody is fighting again because a number of things happened about those protests, right? The first one was that there was a big group chat of people that were going to get on the pitch, and half of them bottled it. And so everybody's angry at them, right? And then there was this really interesting thing where the narrative about a pitch invasion changed, right? So the narrative was, oh, don't be stupid. Don't get on pitch. We're going to catch more flies with honey than we are with vinegar. You know what I mean? Don't be daft. What's the matter with you? And then the narrative changed. As soon as we saw those pictures of that geezer with his getting carted out with his balaclava on, right? All of a sudden, the narrative changed to what an absolute hero he is. And I need to say something out loud now. I need to say something. The pitch invasion at Blackpool and the pitch invasion at the pitch invasion at Reading had no bearing on getting their chairman out of the club. It had no bearing on it whatsoever. The reason that the Blackpool chairman went, the Oystlands went, and the reason that Di Young left Reading was because someone paid a financial investigator to look into his dodgy dealings, into his financial background. They found something bent, and then he wasn't allowed to own a football club anymore. Not because a bunch of kids with their arse out were dancing on the grass. And I know that's divisive. And I know I'm probably on the internet looking for clicks and likes and well done, Fudge, and that's what you do and all the rest of it. But that's the long and short of it. Do we keep protesting? Yes, we do. Stevie, like you said, a stadium full of people with the scarves up, screaming and chanting. All right, I don't like the C-bombs, 8-year-old singing C-bombs in that song, because the reason I don't like it, I'm not a prude or anything, but you can't share a song if we're shouting C-bombs and wanker in a song. We can't spread that far and wide on national media. What we're doing, you know what I mean? But a message of get out of our club, I absolutely love that, and we should absolutely keep doing it. But to stand there and take matters into your own hands on the wrong side of what's right, and to put those players in what they perceive as probable danger, you don't know. I don't know. I can't put myself into the shoes of a professional footballer with people running towards him, but I can imagine it's a bit terrifying, isn't it? And I know we get referred to as the Happy Clappy podcast, and I know we get referred to as, you know, the ones that aren't as militant, but that is the God's honest truth. It's not going to have any bearing on that man selling the club, because after 2.5 years of us going to him, get out of our club, we're not happy with you, what you doing, you clown, and then 7 months of absolute nonsense, and then everything ramped up, and you know, we've cost him financially in different areas, then it'll start leaving a message. And the biggest test to resolve is going to be when season tickets go back on sale.
The thing is, Dan, just on the back of that, it's going to get worse before it gets better. Just park everything that you've just said over there. It will get worse before it gets better, because I do believe that you're right in terms of it won't make a difference to him personally. And I know that the people that are sort of disagreeing with you will say, well, it will, and it's got support and it's got applause, and it's getting EFL games being stopped, to getting the national press's eyes on it, and so on and so forth. Yes, that is happening. But what is also happening is we're backing him into a corner. And we need to. We do. We've got to try and force his hand. When I say it's going to get worse before it gets better, once he gets to that 8th month, that 9th month, and he can't pay, we'll get to January, all of a sudden a transfer window opens, and with the 15 professional footballers, I think it is, that we've got that are eligible to be classed as first-team footballers, he's going to start looking down the line going, I've got to keep the lights on here. People aren't buying season tickets, so I'll tell you what, I'm going to show you a big FU, and I'm going to start stripping assets again. So how's it going to look when we get rid of Piers Charles in January? And how's it going to look when Weaver goes? And how's it going to look when, you know, reluctantly, and it will be reluctantly, Bannon goes, enough's enough, I'm going to have to go. And we'll start stripping it right back. And the players that have stepped up, let's be right, 6 months ago, nobody had Weaver on their bingo card that he's going to be our first choice centre half. Nobody had, all right, Piers Charles was a different one. Nobody was thinking George Brown was going to be a saleable asset and what have you. I'm not saying that we need not to protest to keep those players. What I'm saying is, it is going to, you know, we're dicing with, not dicing with death, but we're in a situation now where it's going to become problematic, because the only way he's going to be able to keep it going is to get rid of those players, and that is a problem.
Yeah, he will start selling off. What was it you called it, John? Selling off the family silver. Okay, that's exactly what he'll start doing. There'll be some spite involved as well.
Oh, 100%. And I think when we go back to speaking about the lady who was involved in the Blackpool saga, it took them best part of 10 years to get the Oystons out of there. So I mean, if you want to take advice from somebody who represents a fan base that was really, really struggling with their chairman and ownership, then that's just about one of the best cases you can find there. And so when she's passing on advice about what worked for them, I'm going to listen. And I think each has got their own way of wanting to protest about things. People are desperate. People are fed up. People are angry. I get it. I honestly get it. But I think that, like you've all just mentioned before, the best way is financially, isn't it? So season tickets, they'll take a hit. Keep doing the scarves, keep doing the chants, and hopefully eventually we'll just smoke him out. But that's all we can do right now, I think.
Keep doing something else, anything. The pitch invasion was what it was. We've come up with the walk on the 10th minute. We've come up with lots of different ideas that I have to say have been pretty innovative. Let's be right. Dan has said, and I think I'd speak for everybody on the pod. We are, let's have Chansiri out. We are pro boycott. We are pro-protest, but there's a ways and a means. And I think the reason we're having this conversation, and it's been quite divisive this evening, is because there's a lot of people that are relatively militant that are saying, well, if we don't get on the pitch and we don't do this, that's the only way we're going to show him. And I think Dan, in his Dan Fudge way, has gone, it's not that. It's done now, as Beth said. It's not that. So what else are we going to do? What's the next thing we're going to do? There's been a statement by the Trust this evening that, or over the last 24 hours around the Middlesbrough game that we'll probably get onto shortly. Let's talk about that. That's something else that we haven't done yet. That's something that we're thinking about and considering doing. Season tickets will come up. We've talked about that. What else is it that we can do that is going to show him? We've had the South Stand boycott under the South. We've had lots of different things that are being done. Some more innovative and creative than others. But at the end of the day, let's try keeping the moral high ground. Okay, let's try working on that, and let's try keep going forwards. But as people have said tonight in the comments on the show, we're all here for the greater good. We're all here for the same cause, and we all want the same thing. Whether I'm pro or anti pitch invasion, whether I'm pro or anti boycott, whether I'm pro or anti pounding the ground, we all want Chansiri out. We all do. Okay.
I was going to say, let me come across a few comments here, because not everybody agrees. Some people have said you're speaking sense. Dan, other people have said, is there a dislike button on X? What a passive, ineffective podcast this is. My job is not to appease you, Steve. My job is to speak about the news, not be the news, not be part of it, not start the news, is just to speak about it. And as it stands right now, thanks for listening. Second one. We've got a few here. So James Revel asked a genuine question: is the purpose of the pitch invasion to get the AFL to place a banning order, play all games with no fans beyond locked doors, therefore Chansiri gets note from match days? Somebody answered that. Richard Ward went, the purpose of the pitch invasion is the next phase in a long line of protests with a full boycott of Middlesbrough. I think we've mixed up the two there as well, because the boycott of Middlesbrough has come from the Trust, and they have been very careful into not attach themselves to the pitch invasion, because they can't condone it. Jake spoke very well about it on various medias. Andrew Osborne wants me to say hello to Ava. Ava, it's past your bedtime, and we're talking about a lot of grown-up things here. Johnny Owl said, you're talking rubbish, Dan. No way has the pitch invasion diminished our cause. If anything, it needs to be bigger. Look what Reading did. Nobody thought any less of them. Again, I'll say out loud, the pitch invasion against Reading had no bearing of Dai Young going. It had no bearing on it whatsoever. And yes, those people that went on the pitch, I did think less of them, yes, because I have a strong moral compass and I want to be on the side of right. Matthew Talbot said, getting on the pitch gained fan up. And this is where the narrative changed, and this is where I wanted to pick at this one. Getting on the pitch gained fans' applause and solidarity, each to their own. My protest is me not going, but stopping a game brings more attention, as the EFL don't want games stopping. I'm all for a full boycott next home game. And that's an interesting one, right? The EFL don't want games stopping, but the EFL have no power. The EFL don't have any clout right now in terms of trying to get Chansiri to sell. That we are already under 6 embargoes. We're under all the sanctions as it stands right now. The EFL can't do it. We can't look at them. And like I said, Pete says spot on. Pete says you're spot on in the renewal scenario, but the demonstrations and awareness campaigns do need to continue bigger and stronger. Otherwise, Charles Cadds, Weaver Brown, Bernard and Valerie are all sold out. I completely agree. They're going to sell he's going to sell the family silver to get away with it. And then Craig Hayward has said the first sign of how many season ticket holders boycott the Borough game, because as it stands, all this information came out in March time. We'd already got our season tickets by then. So the next one is the next window. And I will be interested to see how many people actually don't renew their season tickets, because it might cost them away points. There is a genuine thing there that I am interested to see. And then we've had a few more comments saying... well, God, I'm losing count of this. There was one that said the invasion at Reading got them a suspended 3-point deduction. So imagine that. Imagine being 18 years old. Imagine you're Ernie Weaver. You've just got Player of the Month. Your career started, and we got you a 3-point deduction. There you go. However, I can have these conversations. I can be told I'm wrong. I'm happy to talk it out. I'm happy to go, this is what this is. This is what that is. I don't sit in a camp I don't have an agenda. I want to talk about the news. And if you want to call me placid and you want to call me vanilla, fuck me, you've never watched this enough. Let's have some more of this.
Don't go anywhere too far. It's only time for the adverts.
That was a surprisingly upbeat advert jingle, given what we were just talking about. So let's get back into the other stuff, into more of it. So the trust have released a statement. It's a fairly lengthy statement. However, it does say that on the 22nd of October, we play Middlesbrough, and they are asking us for a full boycott, season ticket holders included, once again, to make sure that we get the message out that we are not happy with the chairman. Will it work? Will the Sheffield Star take a load of pictures of the people there? I don't know. I don't know. I would love to, if I had a bit more notice, I would arrange something else, like a watch-along party at Kelham Island or something like that, but I don't think we've got enough time to get it turned over. However, Stevie, am I right in thinking that the Trust are organising a watch-along probably at Walsall Club, no?
Quite possibly. I've been probably at work for a little bit longer.
I know, right? The timing of it wasn't great. I was immersed in Barry Bannon lights.
Yeah. Let's pull back the curtain and sort of say, well, we said hello to each other at 7:59 tonight.
Yeah. We had all that. Beth, where do you sit on a full boycott? Do you reckon it'll have a bearing?
I don't know about that. I'm into it. I like it, and I think Coventry gave us a really good example of one of the top teams is coming to town. Like, do you want to not watch that? I think I don't want to watch it. Like, I say go for it. Again, we've tried the pitch invasion. We've tried this. We've tried that. Let's not go now. Let's see what that does. Like, onwards and upwards, on to the next thing. This is the next thing. So sure.
I think a lot of people are saying that, aren't they? They're saying just don't go. You know, a lot of people bang that drum. Just don't go. If you don't go in, you're not spending money in there. You just don't even go at all. And it's, you know, if this is a fixture that they've earmarked for that, then fair play to them. I won't be there. So yeah, just see what kind of effect that has. And it's not something that the EFL can punish us for, is it? They can't give us a points deduction for fans not turning up, but they can give you one for other things. So yeah, let's see how that goes and see what kind of effect that has.
Yeah. I'm intrigued to see what type of impact it has, and I would very much, because it's on TV, as the statement says, I would very much recommend you go to your local boozer and watch it. Watch it in the New Barrack, watch it in the Crown, watch it in the boozers in Hillsborough, because you know they're losing out in something that they've got no control over. What else have we got here? So we've got Ernie Weaver. He's Player of the Month. He's been outstanding, hasn't he, Stevie? He's been a shining light in on pitch matters.
Yeah, I think we've referenced it briefly earlier on. He has taken his opportunity. He was very, very good against. I think it was Bolton that he made his debut. I'll stand corrected. But when he's come in and taken his chance in league games, and I think Beth came out with some ridiculous stats a couple of weeks ago about how well he was doing. He has exceeded my expectations for an 18-year-old, and what we love about him is he wears his heart on his sleeve. He's not going to be that kind of, you know, continental, I'm going to play out from the back, I'm going to be, you know, that kind of centre half. I'm 6'3", I'm 18 years old, I'm built like a brick shit house. I'm going to put my head where people won't put their head. I'm going to chuck my body on the line. I'm going to do everything that is rightly going to get that sort of cult following. And yeah, like we said with Piers Charles, let's enjoy Ernie Weaver while we can, because in the current regime, we've no idea how long that's going to be. But from a podcast point of view, I think he's got 4 out of the last 5 Man of the Match awards on our TWW podcast, Player of the Match, and deservedly so. He's been excellent, and he's got a real bright future in front of him.
It's nice to talk about something positive before I move into something negative once again. Beth, the club was hit with their 6th embargo today, as Joe Cran reported in the Sheffield Star. As I was driving up the M3 from work, I did ask you to take a little bit of a look into it for me on what some of these mean, especially the new ones. Have you managed to truncate it for me while I get cooked in the comments?
Oh, bloody hell, you said look at the new one. I thought, oh, that's easy.
Look at the new one. Look at the new one.
No, so the new one is, as we knew, we've not paid the players last week. I think we get a week's grace period on that or something for us to get put to the EFL, hence why it's a little bit late. Financial regulations, I think that's to do with proof of funds, business plans, this kind of thing. HMRC reporting, we know that one inside out. Football creditors was an interesting one. That's kind of if we owe money to the EFL or these kind of people. I had a list, so let me see if I can find it, of who football creditors are, and you can come back to me.
While you're looking for that, okay, so I'll go through. We've got we're in breach of Regulation 16.21.8, future financial information, PNS rule to secure funding, HMS reporting, amount due to another club. I think that's Hull City, isn't it? Football creditors, which I think we know, and non-payment to players. That's 6 embargoes that we're currently under right now. So I feel that there's what does this mean, though? What does this mean for the club? What does this mean for the players? And most importantly, what does it mean for the fans? We don't know. Waiting on Beth to finish a brief research.
What a football creditor is. So it is the league, FA, Premier League, pension schemes, any member club or member of the FA Premier League, any holding company of the league, any sums due to staff, I think, full-time employees, any sums due to the PFA, the Football Foundation, the Conference League, the Northern Prem, Isthmian Southern League, any member of the club. It goes into like policy bollocks, but it's all them people. It's anyone.
But what does it all mean?
What does it mean?
We've not.
What happens? Hey,
there was conjecture about what it could be. I don't know. It's one of them.
We're getting into territory where we're going to end up with more embargoes than points, aren't we, at this rate?
We've had a comment there saying we've had more embargoes than Ugbo goals last season and this season, the last 2 seasons. So does that mean there's a points deduction down the road? Does that mean we're going to get hit with more sanctions from the EFL? Essentially, what I'm trying to get to the bottom of is that a lot of what the EFL can do always seem to affect us directly. They affect the fans and they affect the players. It doesn't seem to affect the chairman personally enough for me, and that's what frustrates me about the EFL. And then you've got the IFR coming in, and the head of the IFR was finally named today. It was a chap called David Cogan, who's the chairman of the IFR, and we saw the meme doing the rounds the other day of a number of roles available for the IFR office, operations managers and accountants and all the rest of it. But it's been absolute carnage, and I can understand why a lot of Sheffield Wednesday fans are pinning their hopes and dreams on the introduction of the IFR. I don't know how it's going to work. And does anybody have any idea? Chime in. Genuine question, because I don't know how. I feel that there might be this slush fund, right? This amount of money that gets put somewhere. So if we're not paying the players and we're not paying the staff, it comes out of that trust, like a deposit, as it were. I feel that would be a sensible thing to do. But again, it's pure speculation. I don't know what the IFR is going to do. Are they going to be able to go, this is Alan Millionaire. Here he is. Say hello, Alan. Chansiri, you're going to have to sell to Alan now. We found a millionaire for you. Is that what we think is going to happen? Because I don't know what is and how quick it's going to be a turnover.
I can maybe help a little bit.
Help me out.
The regulator will have power to remove Chansiri. That's all the legal stuff that goes above my head. That was kind of the early stages. They can tell him to do one. They can put in like a trustee or like a temporary owner. They can also do that for individual positions. So I know obviously we've not got a board and stuff like this. They can go, hi, here's not Alan Millionaire, but Alan Really Clever. So Alan Really Clever about football. They can put people in. but they can also outright remove Chansiri, put in not Alan Millionaire, but a different Alan Very Clever to be the kind of trustee, and it's his job to sell it for a reasonable kind of market value fee.
Stevie, you have questions?
I have a question, Miss Bethany. How does it look? And this isn't me taking the piss, and I probably should know more than this. How do you get the club away from Chansiri? Chansiri owns a club, and the bigger thing is he has the reason that we're speculating. The reason that his asking price is so high is because he's indebted to people. Maybe. How do we take that away from him?
Some of that is that complicated legal stuff that I don't understand. I think some of that is that financial money stuff that I don't understand. I'm sure the debts will be part of the sale, part of the kind of reflected in the market value. Like the people who are coming in to run the regulator aren't idiots. A lot of them, like Kogan, is basically the guy who made the Premier League and English football like the product that it is in the media. Like they're all very intelligent guys. A lot of them are very like high up ex-sports lawyers and this kind of stuff. My little brain, that's not for me to worry about. But we've been parroted over and over again by the FSA, by the regulator itself, by multiple kind of news institutions that they have the power to remove owners. And I'm going to leave that in those very clever guys' hands.
I'm just, if Dan doesn't mind, I'm just going to put this up. I hope it comes up with the Lisa quote. It doesn't seem to be working. Dan, can you find a Lisa and Andy quote for me and just stick that up? This was something that Lisa and Andy said. One of his biggest priorities expected to be Sheffield Wednesday. She owned, so last month she warned that change is coming and that he needs to sell the club. Various embargoes have been placed on the club. Last week it was revealed that player staff wages have not been paid again. If necessary, and this is Nandy speaking, if necessary, the football regulators can intervene in order to remove an owner who is threatening the future of the club. In Sheffield Wednesday's case, I'm extremely concerned about the current ownership, the lack of willingness to sell the club and invest in the club. Something I've been discussing very closely with local MPs. Put that up. The reason that I'm asking the question, and it's not because I'm negative towards the process, I'm as in the dark as everybody else. At what point does that actually become actuality, and at what point do we get to a point where we're looking at movement on the ground in terms of Sheffield Wednesday and being detached from Dejphon Chansiri and moving forwards? And I think to Dan's point earlier on, it's very difficult to sort of know because there's no precedent for this. Personally, I'm kind of clinging on to the fact that because we're in unprecedented sort of territory in terms of the number of embargoes and the situation we find ourselves in and the shitstorm that it is, and with due respect to Reading, Blackpool, Macclesfield, they aren't a historic top tier teams, and that doesn't mean that I don't sympathise and feel their pain. We are probably the highest profile club at the moment that's gone through something like this to the extent that we have. Are the IFR going to come in and support and do something for us, to us and with us to sort of put a line in the sand and say this is where we are, or are they just going to go, right, we're not sure about what's going on?
It's an interesting point, isn't it? Because also when you factor in part of the reason that clubs have got themselves in bother like they have now is the existing rules, like Dan was mentioning earlier, which don't protect clubs from rogue owners and ultimately putting their debt onto the club and asset stripping and all that horrible stuff that comes with terrible owners like ours. Obviously, what we're hoping is that this new regulator will have these powers to, within the law and whatever that looks like, to be able to forcibly remove owners. And obviously, the previous EFL rules, you had to get agreement from all the other clubs about how the rules was going to work. I don't know how that looks now with this new regulator, if they could just bypass all that and say, look, this is what it is now. This is law. It's gone through legislation, and this is now how it's going to be. And whether that's like an escrow account, like Dan said earlier, with a bond in there to protect the club, it's going to be really interesting to see. And obviously, we're going to be kind of the test case as well, aren't we, for this new regulator? We are going to be the test case because we're the highest profile club that this has happened to. So it's going to be really interesting moving forward in the next few months to see what kind of shakes out from all this lot.
Sorry, Beth. I don't know if we cut you off there. Were you about to say something on the back of it? But go on.
I'm just going to say a little bit about the implication, the implementation of it and how it's going to start. So, it's looking like the end of this year, potentially early next, end of the calendar year, not the football season. Most clubs, normal football clubs, are going to be given like a temporary license because there's a new owners and directors there. There's new kind of rules that all football clubs have to abide to, and granted, a lot of them aren't in the shit show that we're in, but it's going to shake a lot of things up. So there's going to be a temporary license system where clubs are going to get a temporary license while they kind of get up to scratch. That said, they're aware of what's going on with us. They know how bad it is, and stuff like today, like the women's group with Wednesday and Wales and the trust meeting them. We're doing our bit here. We're saying like, look, this is how bad it is. We're giving you 2 months' notice before you come in. Here's some evidence of how shit this is going. Get up to scratch, get it up there, because this is unprecedented for them and for us. Like, I think they're well aware of the scale of the situation, how bad it is right now, and also the kind of reputational damage and that could be potentially done by not saving us. So, yeah, again, they're not daft. Fingers crossed.
Okay. So a couple of comments on the back of that. Lewis Jordan, who seems quite learned about it, bless him, he's put some great little piece of information in there. Said the IFR has strong investigative power in which they can explore criminal and civil law, POCA regs and stuff, which I feel would be a better use of our time and resources to get some financial forensic investigators into the background of how DC over the last 10 years has kept this club afloat. I feel like that would be the best use of our time and resources. And then, Matt Davies gone in with something a little bit more sexy, and he won't sell because he's hiding too much. He's a crook, and we all know it. We're all Wednesday, aren't we? I feel like there, and this is completely me speaking on my own. I believe there may be something in there that we could find, or that might just be wishful thinking.
Yeah, I don't want to speak out of turn again, but I do believe that forensic account is something that the trust are looking at the moment.
I believe so. Yes, sorry, I did mean to accredit that to them as well. They that is something that they are looking at. And then with nearly 50 G's in the bank from Wrexham, I feel like we could pay the right fellas to do it. You know what I mean? And then James Wright has gone with the EFL couldn't handle this mess with our club unless the IFR can actually do much more. There's no point in them being an entity to begin with. I couldn't agree more. That's one thing that's come right out of this for me, just how beyond useless the EFL actually are as a body. But Christ, that was tough to talk about. Stevie, I'm going to take 5 minutes and just sit and listen to you speak about the gambling.
Last man standing, who survived? Fantasy league keeps dreams alive. And when there's something shiny new, Stevie's first to see it through. So place your bets, come join the play. Our gambling man will lead the way.
Oh, let's do predictions leagues first, just because you're going to have to click for me, mate, while I'm talking. I don't know why I can't get them up today.
It is coming up, mate, but I'm happy to press the buttons for you.
Thank you very much. Predictions League, we'll stick it up there. Ash, notice on our social media that the Predictions League is gaining traction this year. That's because Ash is tagging himself into everything because he's top of the league and letting everybody know about it. So far this season, he's got 3 correct scores, 2 correct results. He's sitting miles in front of everybody else on 19. I'm just basically going for a loss every week, so I'm not getting any scores right, but consistently picking up points here and there. I'm just behind Charlie and Dan on 11 points. John, what say you? What are you doing, my friend?
I'm currently under a couple of embargoes, Stevie, so I'm not going to get this morning.
That's brilliant.
Where do you want to go
in terms of the FPL, please?
Yeah, we've got it.
FPL top 10 sitting there. We've got Richard Rowling at the top. Rice and Chips, he's currently sitting on about 503 points, 89 points last week. I've no idea how these people are doing it because my team is absolutely monstrous and can only pick up about 60 a week. We've got John Wakefield from the LS chat down in 10th place at the moment on 80 points this week, 446 in total. We'll go to EFL Fantasy next, please. Daniel, my man. EFL a little bit lower, a little bit smaller in terms of groupings, but we're still consistently knocking out points there. S. Johnson at the top, Charlie Sharp's up there, and our good friend Ellie is floating about in the Champions League spots. And then let's finish off with the Tipple League, please.
Ash and Stevie at the top there. Now, bear in mind as well, ladies and gents, this was the same output that Stevie went, Tipple can get in the bin for me. And now he's knocking on silver.
He's proper Vanessa Williams there, and I saved the best for last, and you know.
I've figured out Tipple. I will win that league, guaranteed. Right. I've figured it out. People of Tipple, if you're listening, I'm going to win your league, guaranteed. Look down at 15th, Dan Pudge is down there. These are leagues that are live at the moment. You can check our social medias, get in touch, please, if you want to have a look at what we're doing on in terms. It is a little bit late, but they're all trash anyway, and nobody gets points week on week. But if you fancy getting involved and having a go on any of those, please feel free. Last Man Standing is up and running at the moment. I think the prize money for this particular Last Man Standing is around about £600, given that about 18 people went out in week 1 and then bought back in. Again, it's a good laugh. The crack on the WhatsApp group as we promote it every week is great. Some people on here are part of that group. Get involved as and when you can. Keep your eye on our socials for the things that are kicking off.
Thank you very much. Now, if you're being at the risk of sounding like an episode of Hollyoaks or Grange Hill, both written by Philip Redmond, I'm going to end the show on a rather somber note. This week we had the sad news that Milan Mandaric has passed away. The former Portsmouth, Sheffield Wednesday, Leicester, and a whole host of other football clubs. Milan Mandaric has passed away. Credited with pulling our club into from where it was into somewhere that was for the short term significantly better. I wanted to extend my thoughts and wishes to his friends and family, and I hope you're not suffering too much. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. And like I said, at the risk of sounding like an episode of Hollyoaks or Grange Hill, if you've been affected by anything that I've spoken about tonight, I appreciate that it's been quite contentious. By all means, if you're up for a measured chat, I'm on all the socials. Come on in, get involved. I will talk about it with anybody. And also, don't forget that part 2 of our exclusive interview with Barry Bannon does drop. I know I said it was going to be 6 p.m. tomorrow, but I've changed it to 7 a.m. tomorrow. So some of you can listen to it in bed or listen to it on the way to work tomorrow. Thanks a lot for joining us this evening. I'd love to say it was a pleasure, but it's been a tough show tonight, hasn't it, kids? We've done all right. I didn't open my forbidden inbox this evening, but thanks a lot. See you later.
Every week, live from 8 p.m. It's the Wednesday Week. Bringing you football analysis.
They said we'll win the league next season.
Bringing you modern references.
I did a little 1920s fist pump there. Not done that in a while.
If we could do just a 1-to-1, not me because it'd last 7 days apparently, like Craig David.
I should not have said that. I should not have said that.
This shows like you're mental. No, I'm not.
Clip that.
Bringing you terrible impressions.
Wibble, wobble, wobbly, wobbly, wibble, wobble, Cyber Jordan. When, hey, you got to play a 4-4-2. I don't know where these jokes are coming from.
Available on all social medias.
Obviously, this goes out on YouTube and as well as all the other social media out there, podcasts, etc.
The award-winning Wednesday Week. Join us.